Throughout the past decade, there has been no shortage of horror games. It's a bit saturated, but we're here to pick the ones worth talking about. We've had plenty of good titles released over the last couple of years, and we've still got more on the way. Let us go over the top horror games that are releasing between now and the end of 2022. Hey guys. This is Moth, and today I'm back with 14 new horror games of 2022. So let's get started. With number 14. Choo Choo Charles. Choo Choo Charles is an unusual horror game. In this title, players navigate an area using an old rusty train fitted with a machine gun. Unfortunately, you soon realize a monstrous train fitted with spider legs is somewhere in the area as well. With the townsfolk in peril and your own life at stake, players are forced to battle against this creature. You'll use the train to reach different areas quickly, find scraps to upgrade your train and attempt to rid the world from Choo Choo Charles. Number 13. Evil Nun, The Broken Mask. A popular mobile game was remade and being delivered to the PC platform. Evil Nun, The Broken Mask puts players into a role of a child sent to a religious summer camp. Players soon find themselves locked in a horrifying school with a mad and evil nun, Sister Madeline, seeking to punish children with a giant hammer. You'll need to escape. Players will have to sneak around, solve puzzles and get away from the AI. 12. Unholy. Unholy is a rather interesting horror title in terms of the narrative. Players take the role of a mother named Seda, one of the last remaining humans living in the last city. This city is operated by a class-style system where humans are regarded as the bottom tier while other creatures thrive above. Each day there is a fear of higher-ranked classes crashing below and overtaking the area. As a result, humans are forced to live in shadows. One day Seda's child is abducted, resulting in her risking her life seeking clues. Most of the game will rely on being stealthy and even using items to help impersonate a creature of a particular class. As mentioned, stealth is mainly the approach. You'll need to go through the game, but it does seem that there are some combat elements. However, dead bodies could attract others to search the area, making killing risky. 11. Martha is Dead.
We would often stroll by a lake. But one day, in a fit of jealousy, the man drowned.
Martha is Dead is a first-person psychological horror game that puts players into 1944. The brutal war between the Germans and Allied forces rages on within Italy. However, a young woman's body is discovered, drowned and left with a mystery as to what happened to the moments leading up to this death. Players will set off to find the truth. It's a game centered around folklore and tragedy that comes with war. Unfortunately, we're still waiting for this game to launch into the marketplace as it missed 2021's intended launch window. Now, the game is going for a February 2022 release.
Wanders restlessly in search of relief from her eternal suffering.
10. Phobia Saint Dinthna Hotel. Phobia Saint Dinthna Hotel is a psychological horror game that's a bit like Outlast. You're a journalist that happens to stay at a hotel. However, you soon find out that the hotel is far from ordinary. Worlds collide, and now you're stuck in a place that hosts all sorts of supernatural entities. To figure out what's going on, our Protagonist Roberto must use his journalist's gumption. You'll explore, solve puzzles, and attempt to uncover the dark mysteries behind this building. Meanwhile, you'll also have to use a special camera that will allow the ability to see what's going on within both worlds. 9. Scorn. After not hitting the goals ebb Software had hoped for when presenting Scorn on Kickstarter, the game managed to continue full production thanks to a private investor. This upcoming FPS horror title doesn't have much background information. The development studio is hoping players are thrown into this nightmarish world and from there are forced into exploring while fighting off grotesque monsters. As players explore, they will uncover information about the organic world they'll be venturing around in. Visually, the game is quick to gain some attention with the developers being inspired by H.R. Giger. However, it's a bit of a mystery as to what story will be unfolding in this strange organic world. While the game missed out on releasing in 2021, it looks like the developers are pushing for an October 2022 release window. Number 8. Evil Dead. The game revealed during the Game Awards 2020, we received the announcement for Evil Dead, the game. The game looks a lot like Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th, the game in which players take control of a character such as Ash and must work with a team to close an interdimensional portal. With a portal open somewhere in the woods, players will find all kinds of different monsters popping into our realm. This is a multiplayer-focused game, so you can either play together as a group defending the world from these unwelcome inhabitants, or you can take control of a demonic creature and fight against a group of survivors. Number 7. Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl. Stalker 2 was something that developers tried to get off the ground in the past. While development was going on for this title for a small period, it eventually ended. However, several years later, GSC Game World got the installment back in development. We know that Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl will once again put players into a bounty hunter type of role where you'll head into the zone, an area heavily radiated over the Chernobyl incident. While you seek out loot and information, you'll find yourself also being sought out by mutated hostiles, likewise, a barrage of anomalies that will prove to be incredibly dangerous. Number 6. Slitterhead. Slitterhead already has a strong following online because of the person heading the project. Kiichiro Toyama is responsible for the project with his new studio, Baka Game Studio. If you don't recall the developer by his name alone, this is the individual responsible for the highly beloved Konami psychological horror franchise, Silent Hill. Meanwhile, after he left Konami, the developer brought out Siren and Gravity Rush for Sony. His new game, Slitterhead, is coming out into the marketplace and tapping back into the horror genre. Details are a bit scarce, but the cinematic footage released so far has individuals shapeshifting between a grotesque monster to a normal-looking individual. That should bring out some tense situations, but how this game will play is unknown. While Silent Hill and Siren were third-person perspectives in the past, it wouldn't be too surprising if Baka Game Studio opted for a first-person perspective. Although, we'll just have to wait for some actual gameplay footage to release. Number 5. Sons of the Forest. You may recall The Forest from Endnight Games. The title was released back in 2018 after being available in early access. Overall, the game was a survival title as players were stuck in the woods looking for a means of escape. Now a new sequel is in the works called Sons of the Forest. Players are seemingly taking a trek back into the woods as a means to hunt down the supernatural elements that lurk within it. We're expecting quite an intense and horrifying experience. The footage showcased so far has quite a few new mutated creatures to fight off, and it does look like you'll be able to go through this game with a friend. There will likely be plenty of survival elements, just as there were in the first game. You'll likely need to find resources, craft up different buildings, walls, and weapons to use against the mutated enemy creatures. Number 4. Ghostwire Tokyo from Tango Gameworks, the developers behind the Evil Within series, comes a new IP, Ghostwire Tokyo. This video game was unveiled during E3 2019, where we Got a snippet of information. Acting as a third-person action-type video game with spooky elements scattered without, players are in for a new kind of horror game from the development studio. We didn't get a ton of information from the announcement presentation of Ghostwire Tokyo, though we do know that, as the title suggests, this game will be set within Tokyo. Something strange has been going on within the city, and it seems that people are entirely vanishing out of thin air. Players are tasked with finding out what is causing all the vanishings, and along the way, you'll come across supernatural entities that may be hostile or nice. It's a unique jump from The Evil Within, which offered a more linear horror approach, while it seems that Ghostwire Tokyo is looking to take a more open-world stance to the gameplay. With that said, this seems to be more action-oriented with horror elements. Number 3. The Outlast Trials. Red Barrels was first established in 2011, where the developer brought out a massively successful horror series called Outlast. The video game franchise only has 2 mainline installments, but we know that the third title is in the Outlast Trials works. This will be a unique title compared to the previous 2 installments in that this game is focused on multiplayer. No information has really come out about the game, but from what has been stated, the title will focus on test subjects that were conducted during a Cold War experiment. Because of how popular the first 2 games are, we imagine there will be quite a few players interested in diving into this installment when it launches at some point this year. Number 2. The Callisto Protocol. Dead Space might be getting a remake this year, but one of the main driving forces for its creation was Glenn Schofield. Currently, Glenn is working at Striking Distance Studios, where they are developing the Callisto Protocol. This is a survival horror game set within the PUBG Battlegrounds universe. Unfortunately, we haven't seen a ton of footage and marketing materials released for this game quite yet. However, we do know that this game is set in the distant future, where you're taking the role of a prisoner on transport to a prison facility at Jupiter's moon Callisto. Your ship is suddenly invaded by aliens, leaving you to fight for your survival. Number 1. Dying Light 2, Stay Human. Dying Light 2, Stay Human was a game that quite a few fans were hopeful of picking up last year. Unfortunately, the game was pushed back, so it's on our anticipated 2022 list. If you've played the original Dying Light video game, then you know what's going on in this one. You're essentially stuck in a world full of the undead. Players are simply working to survive with a safe haven established and run by various factions. There's a bigger focus on melee and parkour combat in these games. This means players will run around, climb, and vault over objects. Another element that makes Dying Light a bit unique compared to other zombie-based games is the day and night cycle system. During the day, the zombies are more passive. However, at night these become incredibly aggressive and quite a bit faster.